Have you ever noticed how quiet your hair is? It grows without a sound, falls without a warning, but it remembers. It remembers more than you think. Strange is when you wake up with someone else's braid on your pillow. Some knots are not meant to be untied. And tonight's story is about one such knot. In a village folded deep inside Maharashtra's hill, so quiet even the wind tiptoed, there lived a girl named Maithili. She had lived with her grandmother since the year she turned 5. Her parents left the world too soon. At least, that's what the village said. But you know how the villagers are. Her grandmother, they said, was a strange woman. Too quiet, too stern. But she raised Maithili with love. Not the loud kind, but the steady kind. The kind that tucked into packed lunches, or the way a lamp is lit near the door before sunset. Every evening by 6 sharp, Maithili was to be home. Always. No excuse. Not for school meetings, not for festivals, not for friends.
No walking past the people tree after dark. The roots are not the only thing that grows after dust.
Her grandmother said once. Maithili didn't mind. She wasn't curious like other children. Or perhaps she had learned not to be. But when her grandmother died, something inside the house folded. Not just the bed sheets or the rituals or the dust that settled on untouched bottles of oil. No, the very air changed. Maithili buried her face into her grandma's sari one last time before it was taken away for cremation. She didn't cry then, not properly. It felt like the grief had got stuck in her throat, like something had grown overnight and didn't want to move. In the following days, neighbors came and went. Someone brought rice, some offered to help her move. Some gave her sideways glances and said things like,
Did your Aji ever mention Jatali?
They asked, but never explained. One woman, Kamala, who lived next door, offered Maithili a cot in her house. But Maithili refused. She had learned to fold clothes a certain way, to sweep corners thrice, not twice, to whisper thank you to the tulsi plant. Her grandmother had taught her to take care of herself, and she wasn't ready to let that go. Kamla nodded, pressed a sweet into her hand, and said softly,
If anyone calls you after midnight, don't listen. Okay?
Maithili didn't ask why. That first night, the silence felt bigger than the house itself. No coughing from the next room, no muttering prayers, no footfall, just the cold stretch of loneliness. And then, faintly, a sound. It wasn't a knock, not really, more like someone brushing their nails along the window pane, followed by a voice, soft, rusted.
Mathly, Mathly.
She didn't move. She just pressed her hands to her ears and closed her eyes. Her grandmother had taught her silence, and silence sometimes is safer than courage. Each night the voice returned. Sometimes it whispered. Sometimes it sang what sounded like lullabies. Sleep now, oh little one. Don't cry tonight. The braid will come and tuck you tight. It hums a song you cannot hear, but wraps around you, oh dear. Sleep now, oh little one. Don't make a sound. The roots are rising from the ground. She knocks 3 times, not once, not twice, and once she's in, she sings for you. She held firm, never opened the window, never called out until the 6th night. That night the voice changed. It was her grandmother's voice. Maithili didn't remember opening the window. She only remembered the cold, the kind that settles in your teeth, and the face that stares back at you. It was not her grandmother's face, not exactly, but it was close. The skin sagged in places it shouldn't have. The smile was too wide, and the hair, it poured around the figure like black smoke, matted, thick, heavy as tree roots soaked in oil. It curled down to the ground, long enough to drag, wide enough to cover the path behind her. Her eyes glowed like coals, and yet the figure smiled. Not warmly. Maithili shut the window and fell back. The room smelled of turmeric and old ash. That night she dreamed of combs made of teeth. By morning her hair was different. She woke with a dull ache in the back of her head, like something was pulling her skull backwards. When she reached up, her fingers froze. Her hair, usually braided neatly, was now coiled into a thick, hardened dreadlock at the crown. Heavy, unmoving. No matter how much she pulled or scrubbed, it wouldn't come undone. Oil set on it like rain on stone. Water rolled off it. Her comb snapped in half. The villagers noticed. Of course they did. They stopped calling her Maithili. Now they muttered, Ma Jatali. The women of the village brought incense. The men bowed their heads, and no one touched her anymore, not even by accident. They wouldn't let her cut her hair, would not let her wash it. Don't! You'll get it angry. It's awake now. Kamala said, not quite looking at her. Maithili stopped leaving the house. The room grew smaller. The mirrors grew quieter. At night, her dreadlock, which is the jata, whispered. Not loud, just enough to keep her from sleep. Just enough to blur the lines between dreams and memories. Sometimes it said her name. Sometimes it said her grandmother's. And sometimes it said things Maithili had never told anyone. Childhood secrets thought she had buried. And other times it spoke with voices that were not hers at all. A man sobbing, a woman humming, a child counting, but never reaching 10. She started seeing things, not just shadows, but faces in corners, flickers of women with long hair dragging behind her, brushing floors, cleaning windows, mouths stitched shut with strands of black thread. She found herself waking up in strange parts of the house, kneeling by the door, sitting by the window, once by the well, barefoot and shivering. The jata never pulled. It guided. She tried to fight it. Once she brought scissors, sat before the mirror and told herself this was still her body. But as soon as the blade touched the dreadlock, her fingers cramped. Her arm twisted back. Her nose bled. The hair didn't want to go. One evening, she found an old diary tucked behind a loose plank, yellowed pages, her grandmother's writing. But the ink changed halfway through. Neat handwriting gave way to jagged scrawls. Don't let her out past 6. The jata is patient. I delayed the cycle, but it always finds blood. There were names, dates, every generation, one daughter per branch. The jata moved from woman to woman. When one grew too old to carry it, it passed on. And the village always knew. They didn't fight it. They preserved it, worshipped it, fed it girls. Maithili wasn't cursed. She was chosen. That night she didn't resist the voice. She followed it. Through the door, down the step, past the peepal tree. The roots reached toward her like fingers. The air smelled of rotting marigold. At the forest, they waited. The others. Women with their backs turned, heads tilted, hair like banners in a storm, silent until they all turned in unison. Maithili stood there, her feet bare, her jata now brushing the soil. And for the first time, she smiled. Not because she wanted to, but because the hair was smiling through her. The jata moved. It stretched behind her as if waking up from a sleep, dragging centuries of silence through the soil. It twisted around her shoulders like a shawl, lifted her chin gently, and whispered, not in her ears, but through her bones. Her eyes fluttered shut. When she opened her eyes again, Maithili was gone, and in her place stood something older, something wearing her face, with the same dimple on the left cheek, the same mole under her lip. But the eyes were deeper now, like wells that had seen too many wishes thrown into them. She didn't return to the village, at least not in the way they remembered. But her house stayed lit. The air around the house feels wrong. Birds don't sit on its roof. Stray dogs don't bark near it. Smoke still rises from the chimney. And if you pass by at dusk, you might hear combing, a soft sound like roots of an old tree being brushed. And at night, the calling begins. Not just one name anymore, many. The villagers say the jata reaches further now, across rooftops, across fences, through dreams. Maithili walks barefoot under the new moon, her hair trailing behind her like shadow with its own hunger. And if you see her jata resting on the floor, do not touch it. If it knocks your door, do not breathe or speak. And if she calls your name, pretend you never had one. People fear witches, but these people made her one. They feared her hair, but the hair just wanted company.